Hello friends, welcome back, and we're taking a look at ChainLink. And ChainLink, as somebody said in the comments yesterday, ChainLink is a beast, isn't it? Hasn't it been really remarkable recently? Well, we have achieved a number of price targets for us, and that's been quite good. Let's take a look at how things have been shaping up versus Bitcoin. Here's the 24-hour versus Bitcoin chart, and versus the dollar in just a second. So the current Bitcoin price is just shy of 50,000 at 49,663, and the dollar price is $3.33. We'll just call it just for the crack because it's fun to say that. Looks more like that over here. Yeah, 3.3333. And then go back to the Bitcoin price. So let's just take a sort of quick look at where we come from and where could we be going. How well we have done here. We were kind of speculating at the point yesterday. Let's go down to the 4-hour chart at how these oscillators were shaping up, because if you look here, we can see a downward slope on this RSI as we see the upward slope here. This is clearly a 4-hour upward trend. You know, the price action is clearly going towards the upside. You've clearly got higher highs here, and if these are the higher lows, well, you know, they're higher. And meanwhile, on the RSI, what you're seeing is, of course, this happen. So, you know, that's not so great. What about on the stochastics? You're seeing this happen. So that's not so great. What about on this thing here, the blue part of our upward trend indicator? You know, you want this to keep going towards the upside, rather than even just talking about concepts like divergence and all the rest of it. You want to you want it to be sort of trending up. And what do we have here? Well, we've got sort of curving, we've got downward in terms of the strength of this thing as the price is going up, and the DM positive here plus is going to the downside and creating that divergence amongst that. And what do we have on the MACD? Well, it's the same story. So there's a lot of, so that's fairly strong, and it's there. So we have to acknowledge that it's there. But along the way, all we've still been doing is getting these higher highs and higher lows. So it's been remarkable, really, in terms of the price action. The volume as well, it's not so much diminishing as we're going up. It is a little bit. On average, really, it's staying the same, and occasionally you get these deviations from the norm. And overall, actually, you could say that the mean sort of volume during this whole thing has kind of stayed consistent. So it's neither good nor bad necessarily in that sense. Really overall, and then where have we come from in terms of Fibonacci's, just to try and put things into a bit more context for us. We are, let's just zoom right out, shall we? We're above the 236 here on this sort of from our highs recently down to the lows, Fibonacci retracement, and we have come up towards the 786. So this would be a very deep retracement point here, potential, of course, for and a turnaround area, the 786. It's one of those ones we bear in mind. And then the 236 as well here is, of course, as well going above this area and validating this Fibonacci retracement that we had. Takes things off the table like 44,252 for now in terms of discussion of things. Should we remain above, you know, of course that speaks for itself in a way, but should we remain above 49,000, then that, you know, we don't want to look down too much. But that's all in the face of this divergence. You know, it's all in the face of this divergence. So let's go up a time frame and see if there's anything. Oh, actually, on the terms of the 4 hours, as it happens, just while we're here, you've got this lovely sort of spreading out of the moving averages. The 200 one still got a sort of downward slope on it, but everything else has got this sort of simple there, the white dotted line. Everything else has got that upward slope on it. And then let's kind of go up then here and see the same story as we look at the 12-hour chart, with having got sort of the radical shift in the 21 as following the radical shift in the price action recently, going towards the upside and cutting through everything and seeing a series of decent crosses happen in and around this area, including indeed on the 12 hours this golden cross just here in terms of the 50 and 200 simple. And then going up towards the daily time frame, well, can we see that same sort of effect continue? Now the 21 here is right at it's crossed over the 55 recently. That's always nice to see, and but we're still, you know, we're still not quite in that fanned out and sort of regimented correct formation quite yet, but things are all looking really quite good over here in terms of these things. But can we expect at some point to have a higher low come in then in terms of this upward trend? We've got no sort of higher lows looking at the daily. It's just been essentially parabolic, and then what are our upside targets if we can sort of want to try and beat them in the face of this divergence? So we'd have to look above 51,700 as our first area. You know, know, 51,000 where we've seen the price come up to is definitely a profit taking area for you if you're long in this at the minute, really, in terms of just a benchmark, you know, and that is a good question mark there. Area here to be aware of as well, 49,000 flat area is where you want to be aware of that. We've seen the wicks come down below there, and you know, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice, but you know, between these two areas just now, maybe is where you're looking to be long in and stuff like that. But with the face of this, in the face of that divergence, we should maybe think about the 618 target down in this pocket again, where the golden pocket was, is maybe something where we try and look and see if the prices can sustain above them instead at 47,500. And then if those all three fail, then you could be looking down as 44,000 or whatever, and have to try and see how things are going. I feel like, you know, that either things kind of keep going in the face of divergence, or we see some sort of slight correction. In terms of this here, we've got the sort of slight downward feeling as well, just on the feeling movement in terms of the positive here, and it's crossed underneath the ADX. Well, you know, these things happen with a fair amount of frequency, and so as you can see in the past, you know, you don't sort of like necessarily have to write home about it, but you certainly want to see this coming back up above it again and continuing on the way. But can we get it's again? Do we need to have a sort of higher low in? And let's take a look and see where, if we had one, or we would want to stay above in order to avoid. And of course, I know you could look towards the ones that are already on there, where you want to stay above to have a decent where you want the prices to stay above in order to not have a valid Fibonacci retracement to the downside. Now, we know that if the prices come up as high as this here at the 786, and then we're to make it down to the 618, that the distance between them is the equivalent of going down to a 236 anyway. So what we already discussed is valid in all of that sense. So, but just taking it sort of going wick to wick here in terms of this movement, and you're looking at the 236 being at 47,000 there, and if you were going body to body, then the 236 that's pretty much the same at the bottom. The 236 is at 45,000. So if you're like wanting to see when any higher lows come in at any given point along the way, those two numbers are kind of the ones to be looking to, in the sense of, is this a retracement? Is this going to be a correction, or is this simply a higher low? For me currently, that's what I'd be looking at. And let's take a look at the dollar prices, because they can often be revealing in and of themselves. And let's see, in terms of, if this is on the 24-hour and this is a higher low, and that there's no divergence on the RSI, slight touch of it there on the MACD and the stochastics and the DMI, but we're not going to get carried away, because this is really just part of this overall upward thrust, like we saw anyway on the Bitcoin prices. And we're up above 320, 330, pardon me. There's our price point here at 50. Well, obviously we know that if we come down and test this 618 again, then of this just here, we're $2.90 and $3 flat, that you are looking at as well, asking that question in terms of this here. If I go body to body, you're asking the question here at $3 about whether or not you're above the 236 Fibonacci retracement off the back of that. So bear that in mind towards the downside. We've got this. We've got the moving averages and everything all sort of converging around that 618 area. So if we do see some downside action, then that would be kind of where things get crucial again for us. Currently, are things sort of crucial for us? Not so much. We're looking, can we stay above 330 here, above this 50% retrace, and realistically to look towards the 382 area and the 618 of these other Fibonacci retracements that we've had on in the past, and get up to those areas and actually establish ourselves above them at $3.70 and continue this mad run to the upside? Or do we need to have a higher low come in at some point overall? And that's, it's the same story overall, and those are price points, so easy sort of 330 and 325 areas in terms of, you know, this easy. I said easy. This is where it's like, you know, I'm not a financial advisor, and that's financial advice. You could easily be wicking up and down in between this area and get washed out if you're doing small term time frame trades. In terms of decent entries, then the $3 area would be much better than where we are right now for longs, obviously by a degree of 10%. And in terms of shorts, $3.70 would be much better in terms of where we are just now. But when we're in the middle of a range right now, as you can see across all sorts of time frames, and there's nothing coming in right at where we are right now. Let's just see if we can continue to go up the way. In terms of the 4 hours here, we've not actually had higher highs and higher lows on the on all of this movement, compared to this high and this high, you know, we have had higher highs and in the meantime higher lows the whole way throughout. So let's compare those two in terms of the divergence, and the divergence is there as well. So it's up to you. There's the context of what we're looking at. Can we continue to go up in the face of bearish divergence? That's the question for today's episode. Thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much for liking. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for absolutely everything. It's been a fantastic journey so far. Let's keep things looking rosy. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next episode.